Check. Hello, welcome everyone to our talk on Greek Room. My name is Joel Mathew, and I'm an employee of the University of Southern California Information Sciences Institute, and I'm joined here with my colleague Ulf Hermjakob. And our talk is going to be about the Greek Room. So let me see. Okay, a little background about ourselves. So I grew up mostly in India, where I got to see some of the technological issues and troubles faced by translation teams on the field firsthand, mostly because of my involvement through my parents, who were in the field and ministry there. And I saw that a lot of the technology issues they were facing, some of them were probably solved by using some off-the-shelf software or tools, but some of them really were research problems, and I would argue some of them are not even solved today. And so over the years, being led to study more and work in this field, I came to USC, and I studied and continued to work there, and that's where I met Ulf. And Ulf is we bonded really quickly because of our shared faith, but also he's an established researcher for the past 25 years, has been working in the field of AI and NLP. And so we both shared a desire to use these opportunities for the kingdom and prayerfully seek how we could use some of these techniques that we're seeing in practical situations on the field. So a few motivations about the Greek Room. So one of the big reasons there is a lot of time spent for the whole Bible translation process is the quality. Quality is the most important aspect of the Bible translation, as we can all agree. But this task is actually very laborious. We see a lot of people going through manual lists of checks one by one and actually try to correct things. And this takes, as you can imagine, a lot of time. We wouldn't check our drafts of whatever we are working on manually. We would expect a tool to kind of suggest things, to fix things like spell check. But we see newer technology trying to help this. However, it's significantly hampered by the domain Bible translations are done, which is in very low resource languages that don't have a pre-existing data in them. And so we are hoping to use some of the newer innovative techniques that are coming out for doing this in a better way. And so our objective here is to actually improve the efficiency of the quality of the checking process, and then further improve the access of the quality checking process. So what I mean by that is a lot of the times checking happens in different stages further down the process, and then feedback flows to the first stages to the actual translators on the field, and there's this longer feedback loop. We're hoping to make those feedbacks available to the translator up front. And then complement existing tools. We're trying to integrate these into existing applications, and to do that, we're keeping things open source and freely available. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Ulf to talk more about the tools themselves right now.
Good morning. We'll be a little bit more down to earth here with this presentation. I'm going to cover 4 topics. A spell checker, and this is specifically geared to very low resource languages where there are no commercial spell checkers available, often no curated word lists. Wilderbeast is a tool for more low-level character checking. Then alignment visualization is, again, a little bit higher level, where we kind of look at translation consistency, possibly missing or spurious words. And then have a new version of the spell checker that's much more dynamic and can be used by translators as they translate verse by verse. Next slide. Over here. Too far. So the spell checker is a novel approach that does not require any curated word list, as is usually the case. 2 main features that it employs are phonetic string similarity. So in the similar row, you see examples like Rebecca, Wade, and Abraham with 2 different spellings, and they can differ quite substantially, more than just a single character, yet they are very phonetically similar, and we want to capture that, as opposed to sad versus paid or water waver, where there's only 1 letter difference, but it's phonetically quite different and less likely to be a spelling variation. And then we boost accuracy using word alignment. And that requires reference translations, but for the Bible, we have those in abundance. The spell checking works for different scripts, even across scripts. We use a romanization tool, for which we, in fact, very recently have released a Python version that's new. So this is a tool to check for spelling inconsistencies, and it also recognizes some morphological variation that might be legitimate. Here's a few examples. So English is not the target language. They're very good spell checkers for English, but for illustrative purposes, here are a few examples, like the one you see over here. For English, it captures mostly variations of proper names, but in one case, we even, the tool found a variation of advisors with OR versus ER, both of which are legitimate, but were inconsistent. And then there's an example from Hindi as well. We'll see more of that in the demo. So there's a tool called Wilderbeast for checking character level problems, encoding problems, characters in the wrong script. That's often a big deal for languages that use scripts other than Latin script. And then a range of unexpected characters, a lot of punctuation issues, rival character sets. So we might have an Arabic language text with Arabic commas, but with some ASCII commas in between, which would not be consistent. So there's two parts to the tool. There's an analysis tool that reports a lot of issues, and then there's another part that actually automatically repairs some of these issues. And that's actually had quite a bit of impact. So the Partnership for Applied Biblical Natural Language Processing has built a corpus of 1,009 Bibles in the eBible project, made available, and our Wilderbeast tool has actually corrected 3.3 million changed instances in 220 of those Bibles. And we've manually validated those tools with an automatic visualization tool. Visual alignment. So alignments basically match words in one language to another one over there. And so this tool shows the strength of alignment and it kind of visualizes that through colors. And this helps to find missing words, spurious words, possibly unusual, possibly incorrect translations. And it provides glosses to facilitate review by a consultant who might not speak both of the languages, right? Often we have extremely low resource languages where any help is helpful. So the alignments are also helpful for a lot of other ways. They can be used to learn grammar, morphology, word order. And once you have learned that, you can then reapply that to alignment and get better alignments instead. So we're now going to move on to the demo part. So we're going to switch feeds. This is now, yep. So this is live, so we're going to stay on here. So this is a spell checker for English. And so English translations tend to be, highly curated with very few typos there. But we still find inconsistencies in terms of names. And those might be deliberate, might be based on variations in the Hebrew original, but it might be inadvertent. So we can explore those here. So we can click on the specific Bible verses, see some examples. And so here we have a parallel Bible verse where quite apparently the add-on really refers to the same named entity. So it finds for English mostly inconsistencies for names, but then for other languages, the picture changes. So here we have an example for Vley. This is a minority language in India. So they use the Gujarati script. And so there's some spelling inconsistencies here. So for the benefit of the audience, we also show the romanized versions of the word. So we might have a difference in vowel length for the first vowel, and then might have an aspirated D versus not. And then translators can explore whether those are to be corrected or whether those are legitimate differences. Move on to Wilderbeast analysis. Let's maybe make this a little bit bigger. So this is a summary report on a translation in progress for one of the minority languages, Vley. And so we find that the vast majority of letters are Gujarati, which is expected. We actually find like a Latin character that kind of lost its way into the translation. We find 2 number scripts, both Gujarati and Western, both with only 6-7 instances, so that tends to kind of show that there's maybe an inconsistency in style. You can always click on these things and see basically, what are some of the specific examples where we have numbers over here. So there's only 2 verses that have Western numbers. We find that in terms of characters, there's Devanagari modifiers, a minority which is from the wrong Indian script, and so that's an inconsistency the script finds. We have rival sets, so we have plain quotation marks and then directed left-right ones. We have unmatched delimiters, so unmatched left parenthesis or right double quotation mark. There's a listing of the character kind of by group. Often, when there's a very low number of characters, that's tends to be an indication that there's something weird going on. And it looks at a lot of patterns, so word and punctuation patterns. So here, for example, we find a number of cases where there is apparently a missing space after a comma, or a comma is just kind of floating around freely without being attached to anything. And again, you can click on this here and basically get feedback of what's wrong. And more interesting, okay, so talked about these 3.3 million changes. So we then verify the changes. We kind of visualize what we have. So this is an example, very typical for a Cyrillic language text, where there's always some Latin characters kind of sneaking in. And so our tool kind of corrects that, and you can visually verify that what the computer automatically does is in fact okay. We move on to word alignment. So this is like a really cool part here. So this is from English and Hindi. So that's a very mature translation. So there's a lot of green, which is a good sign. You can hover over the Hindi words. So here we basically see this is Romanized as Abraham, and it kind of links up. It's automatically aligned to the English Abram. And you can really explore all these different words. So even if you don't know Hindi, you kind of get a little bit of sense of Hindi, some of the differences, different word order. For this word over here, it's a little bit different color. So the gloss starts out with generations. So it's not a very precise semantic match with genealogy, but pretty close. And then you notice that the word book is in red. And so and it's in red because it's unaligned. There's nothing on the Hindi side. So this is a hint that there might be something missing. So there is, in fact, no book on the Hindi side. I mean, stylistically, this might be okay, like in this case, but there's a strong hint that we might want to maybe double-check that. There's a few other words underlined. That also means there's no corresponding word on the Hindi side, but like for the word the, but it's in green because the system has learned that the often remains unaligned because, as it turns out, there's no determinative article in Hindi at all. We see a number of examples here. We have the system find set here in yellow. There's a passage, there's some words that don't have a correspondence, so there's something spurious. So here we have a cross-reference on one side, not the other. We see on Mathew 1:4, there's 3 fathers. On the English side, only 2 fathers. On the Hindi side, so one is kind of like unaligned. And the system just kind of points this out, but then the translator makes the final decision. Here we have a case where this is where the name, this is coming out well, is correctly aligned, but very weakly. And there's actually like a diamond here, which is a spell checker node that indicates that this is maybe likely a variant, an unusual spelling. So that spelling occurs only in that one verse, and then there's 80 more different instances with a slightly different spelling. So this is an indication that maybe the spelling needs to be updated. And we move on to an even cooler demo part here.
So we're trying to be a little adventurous and try to do a live demo. Thank you for the tech team to support us in doing this. So let me just share some context. This is a demo interface. We don't expect translations to happen in English again. They're welcome, but we probably don't need another English translation. So this is the whole of the Bible is loaded into the spell checker system in the back end, except the book of Matthew. And so it shows up different colors to kind of denote what's happening, I mean, what it understands and doesn't understand. So you can see a lot of green because it's seen a lot of these things in the other parts of the Bible. You can hover over them to see some other suggestions or possible other variations to that name. And again, this is all just looking at the text and not any other curated data that has been fed into the system. But right here, you see a yellow here that refers to that the system found a few other variations of that spelling, but it's not too sure if that is a actual word, a strong enough hint that this is indeed a spelling error, because the option is advisor with an E, which only is found twice, so it's not sure for sure. But then there are others like the advisors, it's in light green. It's seen it before, but it's again not seen as often. Like heaven is a much more stronger correction that it suggests, and it's shown in red. And these are obvious spelling errors. The sun is a good one, and it's found many times. So it's in dark green. Here, Abraham looks like the regular Abraham in English, but it's got an alpha, the Greek alpha. But it still is able to figure out that this is actually the same Abraham that is written in other parts of the Bible. Similarly, Abraham here. So I'm just going to go ahead, and if things work, it should fix it. Okay. And I'm going to accept that. And accepting it says now it's green again. Now, Abraham was blessed with Isaac because Abraham had faith. Faith is the conviction of things not seen. That almost is spelled as if people would type on text, or kids these days would type SMS, but it is able to still figure out that you actually meant to say conviction. That's because it's able to look at this phonetics, so the similarity between different words is beyond just the number of differences in the characters. So I'll fix that and accept that. Welcome to Wicklow, Florida. That looks good to me. I'll accept that. And I'll try to type in something. So if I asked for suggestions for that, it says, oh, I've seen Wycliffe once before. You just accepted it. So it's not too sure, but that's a suggestion for you. So if you switch back to slides. Oh, one more thing. Did also want to show you that it does work on other scripts. So this is Hindi. And here we only loaded the 4 Gospels. And this is the book of Titus based on that. And as you can see, there's a lot more color here. The blue, it means that it hasn't seen it before. The red means it's kind of sure that there are other options out there that that it feels strongly about as spelling alternatives. And ultimately, the translator is the one who makes the decisions on these things. So switching back to slides now. Let's see.
One before.
Okay. So we really hope that we can collaborate on the tool. Our hope is that you would reach out to us and see how we could apply this tool on your languages that you may be working on, or in figuring out ways where we can combine other techniques in improving the tool and adding more functionalities. One of the top requests that we have received about the tool is how can we get this integrated into existing tools that they work with. So we're really excited and interested in how we could do that more. And there is a standalone version that we're working on that as a teaser for getting quick results, but our hope is to finally get this integrated into existing editors and other tools. With that, thank you so much for listening to us. And I welcome Dr. Del Chrisman on stage for his talk.